So day two, guys. Uh, it's cute because on this day I started writing in Arabic again, just for the sake of like the dudes over there, and I started speaking to them more in Arabic. So I started taking notes in Arabic. First notes, I kind of remembered how my handwriting was. It's funny in English I write in cursive, everything's connected, but in Arabic I kind of split them apart, even though the origin of Arabic language is actually connected. It's not. It can't be written in print. But I kind of like take every letter on its own and I kind of connect them together weirdly. But it was fun, kind of like writing in the language and realizing how if you don't do something for such a long time, your mind kind of, I don't want to say hesitates, but you kind of lose the connection you have with it, regardless of what it is. It's probably something we should reflect on, man, especially when it comes to the people we love. We forget how to show them that we care. Food for thought. Remember, I spend most of my time alone, so yay. So, So here I write about the شبكة الزبائن, which is basically the network of customers, because we don't have one. And the goal is to build one, right? So from a brand's perspective, I started with brand, and I was like, okay, so we have to kind of consider the network of customers that we want to actually like build the customer stories, each characteristic, the archetype that we are, and how we're going to basically engage with the actual customers. I don't explain this until like 3, 4 days later. But I was like basically laying the groundwork for when we open this conversation, they would actually understand what I'm trying to do. So I explain here about like picking our customers because when we're going to start doing online marketing, we're going to take our brand and start taking it to people's faces, and ideally, and the goal with that is to be able to kind of expose ourselves and who we are and what we do and why we do it to customers. And then here, basically, I also talk to them that, like, in the part of the steps is like we have to pick our customers and we have to sift through them because a lot of them, there's a law of in marketing called the law of diffusion of innovation. And the first, actually, like this one is worth Googling. Diffusion of innovation. So the first 30, 12 to 15% of the people that actually like touch your brand and like kind of engage with you are basically the innovators. Actually, no, the innovators are the first one, 2.5%. So the way I looked at the journey of these people, of this company, sorry, or the journey of this company, the portfolio of this company, the initial structure. Like they started doing plastic tanks when nobody believed in plastic at all. They were rigid, and for the longest time, all they had were steel tanks. So the first 8 years, they struggled a lot by convincing people that plastic is good, it could be high quality, it could protect you, and all this stuff. So the law of diffusion of innovation kind of explains, like, you have the innovators, the first 2.5 to 3% of the people that just say yes to your product. They're the people that are willing to take a risk. They believe you. They want to get out of their own shell. They have all these like different things that they kind of like reflect on that they want to see different in them that they don't want to repeat. But then after that, you kind of have the early adopters. And the early adopters are normally when you kind of like use the first 2.5 to 3% of the people to kind of evolve into a more solid sales pitch, more solid brand, more solid engagement with your people. And you're out there a bit for more people to feel more comfortable seeing. Like when the iPhone first came out, like 1 out of 10 people had an iPhone. Those were basically the innovators. And then enough people got convinced that because one guy got an iPhone, we can get iPhones as well. It's cool. We're not wasting our money. It's a good product. I want to change. I want to adapt to the new technology. So then you have early adopters, which are about like they make up to 13%. That's the chart that I'm looking at right now, by the way. And then you have the early majority and late majority. The early majority go all the way to 50%, and then the late majority. And there are some people that would just never adopted. So if you're looking at an iPhone from a new technology perspective, there are people that still use the smaller, like the burner phones. There are people that still use that. So all in all, you kind of have to. And there's a point, yeah, there's a point called the threshold, the tipping point. And once you cross that tipping point, the threshold, you kind of like gain the early adopters at a fast pace because you have enough of your product in the market. So I believe we are in the stage between early adopters and early majority. I don't think we hit the tipping point yet. My goal is basically to kind of not brand it, to enhance the brand in a way where the early majority know what they're dealing with. And for whatever we have in the market already right now, to kind of like establish a strong and essential kind of like kick towards the future. So we'll be able to carry on the early majority and be like become leaders within our field and start like moving in that like perspective. And on top of all of that, basically like actually creating more انتشار الصورة والمعرفة, like the expansion of our company's image and knowledge, because like what we want is we want people to know more about what they're doing when it comes to like because all they do is they see water tanks, it's just water tanks, but there are a lot more, right? Because like all you care about is water in your house, right? But like bad water, disgusting water, rusty water, diluted water, yellow water, algae water, all these things, man, are contributions of the actual like tank. It's the container that holds the water that contributes to these things, and a higher quality tank so supports and not having these as an issue for you in the future, which is also very much a health thing and all that good stuff. So that's also something we talked about. And then basically sorting out after filtering the customers that we're going to have, we have to sort them because we have to kind of like separate how we're going to target each of them. It's online marketing 101. And and creating the difference between competitors and actual people that are like, I want to say, going against us. Because and okay, so that's an interesting thing we talked a lot about it that day. Like the guys over there feel very personally attacked by people that are uh, that are cloning their work, that are copying their work. And the thing is, it's like it happens, right? Like the minute you start doing something and it starts finding some piece of success, enough people are going to notice it and they're going to find a way to actually do it. And for me, I tried to kind of like explain to them the difference between competition and just basically other people in the market. Because technically, the plastic tank right now is competing with the steel tank. It makes sense. But the reality is the plastic tank is creating a market on its own, right? We're opening a new part of the market. We're taking a piece of the market. We're not competing for the same share in the market. We're kind of expanding into like an empty slot in the market. The people that never actually got to decide now are getting to decide. So whoever's like making plastic tanks is not really our competition unless they're actually making the same quality and are reaching the same people we're reaching, or basically just competing, just working on the same level that we are. Overall, I wanted to create a big distinction between the people that are copying us and the people that are competing with us. The people that are competing with us should be innovative, should be like moving forward, should be pushing for different things, while the people actually like imitating us are just random people that found a way to make a quick buck. And they don't have half as much thought in the product as we do. They don't have half as much ethics towards the product. They might actually like change the product after a while. They might change the business model, the business style. Like they're not necessarily planning the way we do. So it's not really competition unless they level up. And that's one thing I wanted to like separate in their heads because they take it very personally. It's like, why are they doing this? And I'm like, because you're doing good. If you're doing something good, other people are gonna try to imitate you. And it took me a while to get it through their head because like I didn't want their feelings to stand in the way of work. And the way they always approached it was very much an emotional sense. It's like he did this, I can't, and that's them talking about clients and all other stuff. Also, I wanted to discuss. I discussed like thoroughly, like the instructions on building and the warranty and the actual things that we have that we give the tank that we need to kind of like find a way to label it and put it on the tank. Uh, we also talked about the priorities that the people would have, the people that are buying tanks, and I linked because they kept telling me the price, the price, the price, the price, and when we went to the market and the yeah, the first day we went to the market, I didn't talk about it a lot, but I went to the market just to ask people around and like check for stuff. But one day, actually, like when we went to the market, I saw a lot of people that had hair plugs. You know, like whoever's balding basically gets hair plugs, or I don't know what they call it these days, but they basically take hair from the back of your head and like plant it in different areas. This is super weird looking. Super weird looking. It's not a good look on anyone. It just literally you look like you have like streams of hair coming out, and there's no fullness to it. I don't get it. I don't get it. If there's a way for like the whole hair to be like go back to the way it normally is and be thick and flurry and all that, yeah, I would understand it. But people that make $200 a month, $300 a month, would save for 6 months to pay for a $700, $800 operation just to plant hair, man. And it's shitty. And I used that and I looked at them, I was like, no, but when you're investing in your head, in your hair, $800 is cheap because that's the hair that's going to stay there for the rest of your life. And they were like, yeah. I'm like, so what made people make that decision? Narcissism. But then all we have to do is show people that if they actually invest in a tank, they're basically they need to consider the healthy alternatives. They need to consider the endurance. They need to consider the warranty because like companies just wouldn't give warranty for this stuff. While we do, we give 13 years of guarantee and warranty. So all that stuff is actually like relatively good. Uh, all we have to do is awaken people's eyes to these kinds of things, and that was the vibe of the day. And then we talked about like the actual flag of the country and how we actually could represent it because they take pride in being from the Kurdistan area as Kurdistani people, even though they exist in Iraq. So they're Iraqi, but they're of the Kurdistani people. And it's cute because, like, Eastern Syria kind of has that as well, and northern Iran has that as well, and a couple of other countries within that region. They kind of have like the Kurdish people live there, but Saudi, there are Iraqi Kurdish people, and there are Irani Kurdish people, and there are Syrian Kurdish people. And it's fascinating because I met a couple of Syrian Kurdish people. They speak Arabic like very much like Syrian people would, and then they speak Kurdistani. So I wanted to like pick on that vibe to see how we're able to kind of like incorporate what we're doing in a whole more sentimental uh, yeah, I don't it's just every like we're the manufacturing company is coming out of there. And maybe I should talk about this in the next video.